I'm Tony.
And I'm Ruta.
And this is our fancy tour bus.
We're so glad you're with us.
So come on along.
Tony, from all corners of the world, people in the know clamor for a taste of our desert.
I'll say, in the early days of the 30s and 40s in Palm Springs, the truly wealthy knew a good thing when they saw it, and they invested big in it, and I mean big. They bought and built outstanding estates in the grand way that only the very, very rich could do, complete with so many alluring secret features.
And then after World War II, as more and more members of our Hollywood royalty discovered the desert, they adopted it as their own personal little play spot where it was warm and comfortable and exclusive, and ooh, did they know how to have fun.
You bet they did. But you know, let's look at who made so many of these wonderful homes and estates possible. They were the cream of modernist architects like Albert Frei, Donald Wexler, and Richard Neutra. Those guys were in big demand to create these fabulous homes.
Yes, for stars like Cary Grant and Elizabeth Taylor and Frank Sinatra and Dinah Shore, and so many more. They all escaped to their little hideaways in the desert where they could relax away from prying eyes.
And have a lot of fun, too. And today we have our own younger group of stars that are doing the same thing. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, Suzanne Summers, and of course still Barry Manilow.
Okay, we promised you a menu of 5 gems of the desert. Come on along, folks. You won't be sorry you came with us.
This one, called the Kaufman House, was designed in the 1940s for Edgar Kaufman, who is a very important real estate mogul and department store heir from Pennsylvania.
And being a very wealthy man and very tasteful, Mr. Kaufman hired the world-famous designer Richard Neutra, who was a believer in minimal design, and he had the credo that a house should be a machine for living. And right he was, because Neutra took this barren, rugged Palm Springs mountain landscape and turned it into something quite beautiful, refined, livable, even though exceedingly minimal.
Yes, very minimal, but that is the look these days, and I guess it was the look in the 40s too. And this incredible landscape, the cacti. I wonder if they've been here since the 40s. I guess they probably
40s,
were.
they've been here since the beginning of time.
But they are magnificent. You know, the story on this house, Ruta, is so fascinating to me. Because back in the 40s when this house was built, it was built as an architectural jewel, and certainly it has sustained that, just having been auctioned off at Christie's with a tidy starting sum of somewhere between $15 and $25 million.
Whoa.
Yes. And
Now, this house has been owned by quite a few people
Yes.
since the Kaufmans built it. And some of the celebrities that were here are who, like Barry Manilow, Mr. Music.
Right,
And you
indeed.
know, Florence Henderson was staying here one time when I was running into her out on the street, and I don't mean with my car. I wonder which bedroom she had of the 5 bedrooms.
5 of them. She could have had any one. Depends how many nights she stayed. You know?
Of course, it was a different house then because Barry, for
Had
his
added
needs,
so much to it. He added more rooms to it, and because he had house guests, undoubtedly,
But-
Florence Henderson and such.
yes, but the last owners bit the bullet and said, we're going to take it back
yes.
to what Mr. Neutra designed, and that was a house should be a machine for living. And they cut it all back. And tell about the rock.
The sandstone, which we're looking at right here on the side, was from a quarry in Utah that
Oh, yes.
ceased being there in the 40s. And of course, they went ahead, I don't know how, but they got the quarry to reopen and match, because you couldn't get just any sandstone. It had to be the right shade of sandstone. And they did it. And they did an incredible job.
Well, no wonder it started at 15 million.
That's right. At least.
Whoa.
At least.
But you know, the amazing thing is this house has survived. It is an architectural gem, and it is also a preserved architectural gem.
Well, welcome to the street like no other. In fact, the street's like no other.
The Platinum Square of Palm Springs.
And today we're going to begin at the Elizabeth Taylor Estate.
And the part that's really wonderful, it's for sale. Hey,
There you go. Just
maybe
get a
one of us
check
can have it.
Right. Come on.
Come on.
Well, hello there, Scott. How are you?
How are you?
Nice to see
Nice
you.
to see you.
Do you know Ruta Lee? There she is. Scott Lyle.
I'm so happy to
famous
see you.
Realtor to the stars.
This is the Elizabeth Taylor Estate.
I can see we have a beautiful Oscar and a beautiful face. Isn't
and-
that lovely?
Award-winning actress, award-winning realtor.
Thank you very much.
Lead on. Let us see this beautiful palazzo.
Okay. Well,
Oh, isn't this lovely?
it is lovely, and it
Beautiful.
happens to be for sale.
No.
We're asking $9,200,000.
Oh,
for it.
wait, I'll get my checkbook.
Well, yeah, I think it looks worth every penny.
Absolutely.
We
Wait
took a
till you-
little sneak preview, and it's gorgeous.
Well, this is the living room, and certainly a very handsome room. Very comfortable, very light and airy.
Oh, indeed. And you know, you can just sit in this room and imagine what this house was like.
So why don't you enjoy the home?
Oh, we're going to. We're
Well,
going to
no.
relive Elizabeth Taylor's life.
Scott,
Right with you.
both of us have visited in this home many years ago at different times. So we're both very anxious to see what's happened
Oh, yeah.
and what's new and relive some
Oh,
memories.
you will be impressed.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh,
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Well, come on, dear ones.
Come
This
on,
is a
let's go.
beautiful house to see.
Yeah.
Let's go share memories.
Back.
Oh, honey.
Look at that wonderful picture of Elizabeth Taylor, Butterfield Day.
That was a picture that was better, I think, received than most people thought.
I think you're right
I know.
about that.
Gorgeous
Look over there. On the set in Rome of Cleopatra.
History was made with this picture,
Oh,
both
yes.
financially, that never had that amount of money been spent on.
No.
Never was there so much gossip.
Oh my.
Elizabeth did her very best work in Cat on a Hot Tin
Indeed,
Roof.
she did.
Exquisite film.
She had great chemistry with Paul Newman, but then again, I think everybody had great chemistry with Paul Newman. How would you not? He was so expressive in those gorgeous eyes. And
Let's go to the bedroom where the real
where
stories
the real
are.
stories are, right. Now, before, when I saw it about 12 or 13 years ago, Scott Cameron owned this property, and he had the bed in the center of the room.
Oh, how Hollywood.
Yes, it was. But now this is just wonderful.
Oh, this
Wonderful.
is so handsome and,
And
so
look at
airy.
that loving picture of Mike Todd and Elizabeth Taylor. You know, when she first lived here, she was not married to Mike Todd. She was here. I think even her mother stayed here for a while. Then at one point she left and she married him. And about a year later, unfortunately, he died in that plane crash.
I think that was the ruination, you know, of her life, and so many illnesses in her life. The woman had a glow and an aura about her that
Indeed.
was quite incredible. You can almost feel it in the room. But you know, I have to tell you, one time when some human being was able to outshine Elizabeth Taylor happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And the guest list at this table for this party, I was included because I was doing a picture
Right.
with Frank at the time, was Elizabeth, then married to Eddie. It was Milton Berle and his wife. It was this enormous array of Hollywood. The brilliance of Hollywood was there. And suddenly, Frank walked in the room with Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my.
Now, if ever there was a woman who glowed, it was Marilyn Monroe. She was Ava and Zsa Zsa and
Combined.
Jolie Gabor in spades, just combined beautifully. And that's the first time in my life that I've ever seen a woman take second
But
place.
you really remembered it.
I remembered it so because
As if it was yesterday.
I thought that Elizabeth Taylor was the most glorious thing on the face of
Now,
this
how
earth.
did Elizabeth Taylor react to that?
You know, I don't know. I was so busy looking at Marilyn Monroe and going, because there I sat in my stupid little cotton dress, not knowing, and she came in and all glitzy, and of course the
beaded
boobs
and-
are nice
of
and everything
course,
is
just
great.
perfect, just perfect.
But, of course, Eddie and Elizabeth were a hot item at the time.
Oh, yes,
It
because
was-
he was the one that stepped in because they had been friends, the foursome. And when Mike Todd died, Eddie was the first one by her side.
That's right.
So that's
And,
how, and Debbie was distanced.
And Debbie was taking care of Elizabeth's kids. You know,
Right.
that's the part that is so
The
distressing.
family that plays together stays together, or something
But look,
like that. I
it
don't
just
know.
takes a little time,
Right.
and everything is okay again.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the bathroom. Is to die.
yes,
Let's go look.
It is fabulous. Fabulous. Oh, and here is the pretty sitting room for the bedroom.
It's enormous.
Yes, enormous. You really can live self-contained back in this part of the house.
Yes. Let
It's-
your guests stay over
Stay
there.
over there.
You stay here.
And you stay right here. And look at this incredible closet we're coming to, skylight and all. Just magnificent. The color, you know, to be able to see your clothes in the light.
in perfect light.
And what work. And, now
This
talk
has to be
about the most gorgeous bathroom in
the
the
prettiest
world.
bathroom I have ever seen.
Me too.
The most spacious. Oh, the scenes that could be played in.
Oh.
I was always jealous of Ben Franklin, who had a fireplace in his bathroom.
Oh.
You know, where you could get out of the tub. Speaking
And,
of tub,
look at this
well,
tub.
excuse
Well, of
me,
course.
but this
Now,
I've got
sit
to
down.
get into.
This is perfect. This is...
Isn't this divine? You
Sit
could
here.
stomp grapes in here.
This is true. That's a new thing we could do. And look at these sinks. They are so high. You never have to bend over. You just stand up, even with my 4-inch heels.
And look at this. I think this house is so beautifully appointed.
I think you should write a check for it.
You know,
Without a doubt.
I'm getting tempted.
I think you should.
If only
it's your
I-
house. You
if-
love everything in here.
Only I could cover it at the bank. It would be
Well-
just great.
We'll see. We'll think on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do. Come on, let's go outside
Come on,
and
let's
take a look
take
at
a
what
look at
goes
that
on.
legendary pool.
You know, the pool.
Rudy, you see this incredible pool, the tile work. All of this is original. I know the story. The man that first built this house got all of this tile from Italy, and I believe that the place was at that time going broke, and he bought everything out. And this pool has just the most incredible designs. Isn't it exquisite? And I hear when Elizabeth Taylor lived here, she and her children just loved it to pieces.
I can well imagine.
Is this staircase, which was here from, I guess, very early on when the house was built somewhere in the middle 30s, early 30s. There was a stairwell, and it still is here, that goes right down below the pool. Now, if you come over here and lean over, you'll see all those little glass windows.
Portholes.
That's right. But when you're down there, you can see everybody and everything in the pool. Now
That's-
just take a little imagination.
That's
here.
when you discover not all men are created equal.
Exactly. And who's really close to who? Now we're at the home of producer, director, and writer, Emmy Award winner David Lee.
Producer of some of my very favorite shows,
Ah.
like Frasier, Everybody Loves Raymond,
Right.
Cheers. Woo!
And how many Emmys? Like 10, right? Or more.
Let's sit and talk.
Let's sit.
Tony, when was this house originally built?
It was built about 1964. And the first owner, Ruta, was Dinah Shore. She came here, and I think the rumor kind of has it that it was her then husband. And they were only married for a short time. It was after her divorce from George Montgomery. about 63, 64, she was married to Maurice Smith, who I think either built it or helped build this house. She didn't live here very long, though.
This is an exceedingly modern line house.
Yeah.
And to think that it was built in 64.
Way ahead.
Whoa, it was way ahead of everything architectural. then.
Exactly. And
Do you know who was responsible for the design and architecture of this house?
I think it was Donald Wexler. Dinah wasn't here that long, but she sure made her mark in the desert. You know that Dinah Shore, of course, everyone knows, had started the Dinah Shore Golf Classic, which of course is still going on, and very well. And the sad kind of thing is that even though she died relatively early, she split her ashes. I guess she felt such an affinity to the desert that she has half of her ashes buried in the desert and half of her ashes in Los Angeles.
Oh my, what a beautiful story.
And you know, George Montgomery, her ex-husband, actually made most of the furniture when she lived here.
But you know, he was a big Western star.
Yeah.
And the design of his furnishings
Heavy.
are altogether different than what we're seeing in this very minimalistic house of today. Now, Jerry Herman,
Right.
the fabulous composer Jerry Herman, Hello Dolly, Kajal Fall, Lord.
The
so many
only
shows
man,
I've done.
I think, who had 5 shows running with 1,500 performances.
Name.
Oh, I mean, on Broadway, he holds the record.
Yes, he does. He lived in this house.
Yes, yes.
And I can almost hear the music resounding. He must have loved that. And he's really not too far away from here right now. He's just a couple of blocks
Right.
away from this wonderful platinum square of Palm Springs.
But remember that every owner that has lived here has transformed this house into whatever they wanted it to be. When David Lee bought the house a few years ago, I remember workmen and trucks on this street for, gosh, it seemed like forever. It was probably close to 8 or 9 months or something. Oh, lots and lots of people. And before David, and in between Jerry Herman, there was another owner who had worked on the house for ages and ages and ages.
It's a fantastic piece of property with, of course, a beautiful pool, but that's expected in Palm Springs.
And a tennis court.
That's what's
Well,
really
Dinah
nice.
Shore wanted a tennis court, I'm sure. And remember, they also outside was this little, at one time, open tennis bar, cabana type of area that's now glassed in.
And it's now a fabulous gym.
Right.
No wonder David Lee stays so trim and
Oh, well,
gorgeous.
you bet, you
and
bet.
keeps his brain working so that he can keep producing those
All
wonderful
these
television.
wonderful, wonderful shows. Not only produced, you know, he directs and he writes. So he really wears all hats. He really does. And you know, you, of course, had lots of, you know Jerry Herman so well, and you've starred and played in many of his shows, too.
What a joy to think that this man can write that kind of music and express so much. And I have a feeling that some of that energy comes from the beautiful sunshine, the magnificent mountains, the
Yes.
palms that sway like
The
they are
breeze.
dancing to music.
And you know, look at this view. You look out here, and people who love the desert always say, the desert, the mountains give me strength. They give me this wonderful feeling of power. And it's interesting, because all of the people at one time or another in this platinum, large, maybe I should say squares, such talented people have lived in this neighborhood. Anyone from Harold Robbins to Stephen Shagan, the writer, the people that wrote Dynasty, Mike and Bob Pollock, you know, live down the street.
Jack Warner,
Right, the Warner Estate, just up at the corner, the old former Jack Warner Estate.
Kirk Douglas.
Right behind us is where he lived. Sidney Sheldon, who also behind us had like 5 houses at one time. I think his widow Alexandra still does.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. And they're both very active in the Bighorn Sheep.
I'm so astounded that there is such a difference in architecture and style and attitude in everything from the house we just visited to this one. And now, off we go to yet another style of house that
yes.
we're very anxious to take you to. Come on along.
You're going to like this one.
This water garden area is absolutely amazing architecturally because you have nice, clean, square lines filled with water reflecting those gorgeous mountains and palm trees.
You know, it's a wonderful thing to be able to lie in one of these pools and look up at these beautiful, beautiful mountains that I think give everybody so much strength.
The presence of water everywhere has the most calming effect.
Oh, it is. It's almost, it's so relaxing, but one has to learn to navigate around all of the water, or I have a feeling we could wind up just accidentally falling in.
I think that has happened at this beautiful estate many times. Tell me a little bit about the very beginnings of this property, way back when.
Well, you know, it was sort of the circa of what we were looking at earlier.
The 20s and 30s.
The 30s. It was the original Maybelline estate. And that's what it was always called. And, of course, the people that lived here last, I do not believe had anything to do with Maybelline, but they sold it. And this wonderful young man with a great imagination, Mark Ware, came in and started to work. Talk about patience. You have no idea how long it took to build this house. From the plans, from everything else, probably close to 2.5 years.
The plans and the concept and this whole ideal situation was brought about by a man named Don Boss, B-O-S-S. And I understand that he is a very laid-back, gentle, unassuming man, and he's built this edifice that, to me, belongs someplace in Egypt.
That's what I was going to say. You get the feeling it's Morocco. It's somewhere where you just want to lie back on one of these magnificent chaises, or those chairs, which I think are incredible. The sun chairs, the sun chaises that are just in the pool ever so slightly, just enough to keep you cool while you bake.
You know, I think that perhaps our host and owner has a great deal to do with it, Mr. Ware.
Yes.
And he came out of something called
Hot cotton.
Hot cotton. Well, he's in tall cotton now. Let's put it that way.
He sure is. He had a wonderful manufacturing business, which I think is still going, called Hot Cotton. And at some point, I believe he sold out. But Hot Cotton, I think, is still rolling. Mark Ware's Hot Cotton. And it's just a fantastic house. And if you see every room, and it's certainly very large, but every room is done for maximum comfort, tranquility, easiness. And, you know, he has such a great eye that when he started to build the house, he had all of the palm trees removed, 60 of them. Took them out, stored them for over 2 years, and then brought them back, and he said not one of them were damaged.
I totally agree with you about the taste of Mr. Ware, because as you walk in the house, you think, oh, it's modern, it's slick, it's going to be icy cold.
Right.
It's not.
No, it's warm.
It's slick and
warm,
fabulous, but
slick,
boy, hospitable in every way. And speaking of hospitality, I know that this house and this beautiful estate is often given to charitable institutions to have wonderful events,
yes,
all for the sake of those who can't do it for themselves.
That's right. And he has the magnificent sunken tennis court, and it is possible to attach a stage or something to it so that he can have a show.
Into an amphitheater.
Yes, into sort of an amphitheater. And he has this wonderful dining terrace down below as well. The house has so many facets that you can live and have a complete, you know, it's like going on vacation in one house. You can have whatever you want to do.
Well, that's the whole point of having a house here in Palm Springs,
but this is
especially in this neighborhood.
Yes.
Because you feel like you're at a resort of the most elegant kind.
Oh, yes.
And the most costly. All I can say is, oh, Dubai, eat your heart out.
That's right.
Oh, friends, this place is so tranquil, so calming, so beautifully still that I think I'll take a little respite.
And you're not alone, I have to tell you. I have just what they say, unwound. I'm joining you.
Tony, I'm so happy that all of our friends were able to join us on this marvelous day of exploring beautiful houses in what we are now calling the Golden Quadrangle.
I think it's called the Platinum Quadrangle or the Platinum Triangle. I mean, it's better than gold.
Better than gold.
Although gold is, I guess, okay too. But you know, I think aside from the beauty of these homes is the history of all of these homes and the magnificently interesting lives of the people that have lived in these homes. And this is so fun sitting here with you in front of Cary Grant's former house. Certain people say is still pleasantly haunted by Cary.
Yes, I mean, hasn't he visited you in your bedroom? Oh, Bobby will never forgive that.
Shh, not supposed to talk about that. But you know, you remember that wonderful comedian, man of so many voices that we've interviewed so many times in years gone by, Fred Travalena. He stayed here one night, and he absolutely swore that Cary Grant was here.
Join us again, for the tour bus stops here.